is. When we talk about stress, exhaustion, and burnout, many people immediately look at the surface level symptoms. They see fatigue, anxiety, irritability, or a sense of hopelessness, and they try to manage those symptoms with quick fixes. But the real truth is that burnout begins long before those symptoms ever show up. It begins with something happening inside your body as a hormone called cortisol. Cortisol is often labeled as the stress hormone, and while it's true that it plays a major role in stress, it is not your enemy. Cortisol is actually designed to help you. It gives you energy in the mornings. It mobilizes your body's resources when you need to act quickly, and it keeps you alert in moments of urgency. Without cortisol, you would struggle to get out of bed, to respond to challenges, or to focus your attention. The problem is not cortisol itself. The problem is when cortisol is left unchecked, when it remains elevated throughout the day and night because your body never receives the signal that it's safe to relax. That is when it becomes destructive, draining your energy, impairing your immune system, and leaving you vulnerable to burnout. The first step to overcoming burnout, therefore, is awareness. You must learn to recognize the signs that your body is trapped in this high cortisol state. For example, are you constantly feeling restless even when you're supposed to be resting? Do you feel tired but wired at night? Unable to shut down your thoughts? Do you find yourself reaching for caffeine to push through the day, only to crash later? These are not just random experiences, they are signals from your biology. When you understand that these signals point back to an overactive cortisol response, you can finally stop blaming yourself for being weak or unmotivated. You're not broken. Your system is simply overstimulated. Your awareness is the key that allows you to step in and take back control. Think about it, awareness gives you choice. Most people live in reaction to stress. Something happens at work, cortisol spikes, and they react emotionally without even realizing what's happening inside. But once you are aware that a spike in cortisol is just biology, you gain distance. Instead of being swept away, you can say, my body is producing a stress response. That doesn't mean I have to surrender to it. This perspective shifts you from being a victim of stress to becoming the observer of it. And when you become the observer, you can choose how to respond. You can take a deep breath, you can pause, you can redirect your focus. That choice begins with awareness. Now, awareness is not just about noticing stress in the moment. It is also about recognizing patterns in your life. Perhaps you notice that certain habits, like checking your phone first thing in the morning, immediately spike your stress. Or maybe you realize that saying yes to every demand leaves you in a constant state of urgency. Awareness of these triggers is powerful because once you identify them, you can begin to change them. You can create boundaries, set new routines, and build environments that calm rather than agitate your nervous system. But you can't change what you don't see. That's why awareness is always step one. There's another dimension to this. When you raise your awareness, you start to see not just the problem, but the opportunity. The same cortisol that makes you feel anxious can also be harnessed as energy. Think about athletes before a game or performers before stepping on stage. They feel the rush of cortisol, but instead of letting it paralyze them, they channel it into focus, power, and performance. You can do the same in your life. Awareness helps you reframe stress, seeing it not as a threat but as fuel. So today, I want you to begin with this simple practice. Notice. Notice how your body feels in moments of stress. Notice the tension in your shoulders, the speed of your thoughts, the rhythm of your breath. Don't judge it, don't fight it, simply notice it. Because the moment you notice, you interrupt the unconscious cycle. That awareness opens the door to choice. And when you can choose, you begin the process of taking control of your cortisol, and in doing so, you take the very first step toward overcoming burnout and reclaiming your energy, your clarity, and your life. Your mind is not just a passive observer of the world. It is the command center that shapes your biology. Every thought you think sends a signal through your brain and body, and those signals determine whether cortisol rises or falls, whether your body prepares for battle or allows itself to rest. The reason so many people fall into burnout is not just because of external stressors, but because of the way they interpret those stressors. Two people can face the same challenge. One sees it as an opportunity to grow, and the other sees it as an unbearable threat. The difference in perception creates a difference in biology. The first person's cortisol rises briefly, then normalizes, leaving them stronger and more focused. The second person's cortisol remains elevated, keeping them locked in a cycle of fatigue and overwhelm. This is the extraordinary power of the mind. Your thoughts can literally dictate your hormonal state. If you believe you are trapped, under pressure, and out of control, your body will produce the chemistry of stress. If you believe you are capable, resourceful, and in control of your response, your body will generate a completely different internal environment, one that supports healing, recovery, and resilience. The stressor might remain the same, but your biology shifts because your perception shifted first. This means you are never fully at the mercy of circumstance. You always have influence over how your body responds, because you always have influence over how you choose to think. Consider how often we let our minds unconsciously run wild. A small inconvenience happens in the morning, and we replay it in our heads all day long. Each time we revisit that thought, the brain doesn't know the difference between memory and reality. It triggers the same stress response, as if the event were happening all over again. This is how many people unknowingly exhaust themselves. They relive stressful moments in their imagination, keeping cortisol elevated long after the event has passed. But the same principle works in your favor. When you deliberately think empowering thoughts, when you imagine positive outcomes, when you rehearse success in your mind, your body responds with a completely different chemistry. Instead of stress hormones dominating your system, you trigger neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin, which uplift your mood, sharpen your focus, and strengthen your resilience. So the real question becomes, who is in charge of your mind? Are you letting random worries, fears, and doubts dictate your biology? Or are you consciously directing your thoughts to create the chemistry of strength, clarity, and calm? This is not about pretending that stress doesn't exist. It's about recognizing, while you cannot always control the outside world, you can control how you perceive and interpret it. And the moment you do that, you are literally shaping your body's hormonal response from the inside out. You might ask, how do I put this into practice? Start by catching yourself in the moment. When you feel tension rise, pause and ask, what meaning am I giving this situation? Is this truly a threat, or am I magnifying it in my mind? That question alone can break the automatic loop of stress. Then, replace that thought with a more empowering one. Instead of, I can't handle this, tell yourself, this is a challenge, and I can grow through it. Instead of, everything is against me, remind yourself, I've handled tough things before, and I can handle this too. These thoughts are not just motivational slogans, they are commands to your biology. They lower cortisol, they stabilize your nervous system, and they remind your body that it is safe to recover. The truth is, your mind is the thermostat for your body's state. Just as a thermostat controls the temperature in a room, your perception controls the chemistry in your body. If you allow fear and negativity to run unchecked, your internal temperature rises with stress hormones. But if you deliberately choose thoughts of possibility, strength, and control, you bring your biology into balance. And when your biology is balanced, no longer controls you. Instead, you find yourself with energy, focus, and the capacity to thrive. This is why the second step to controlling cortisol and overcoming burnout is mastering your mind. Because when you master your mind, you master your biology. And when you master your biology, you reclaim your ability not just to endure stress, but to rise above it and use it as fuel for your greatest growth. There is a direct link between the way you breathe, the way you carry your body, and the level of cortisol flowing through your system. Most people never think about this because breathing and posture seem automatic. But the truth is they are some of the most powerful levers you have for controlling stress in real time. When your breathing is shallow and rapid, your brain interprets that as a signal that you are under threat, and it keeps cortisol high. When your shoulders are hunched, your chest collapsed, and your body tight, your nervous system assumes you are bracing for danger. But when you consciously change your breath and your posture, You send a new signal the danger has passed. It is safe to calm down. Is. This single act can flip your biology from stress into balance faster than almost anything else. Think about the way most people breathe during the day. They take short breaths from the chest, often without even realizing it. This kind of breathing is the language of stress. It keeps the body in a constant state of alert. Now compare that to slow, deep breathing that expands the diaphragm. This type of breath engages the parasympathetic nervous system, the system responsible for rest and recovery. Within just a few minutes of intentional breathing, you can lower your heart rate, reduce blood pressure, and signal your brain to reduce cortisol production. This is not theory, it is biology, and it means you carry within you, at every moment, the ability to reset your internal state. The same principle applies to posture. Imagine someone who feels defeated, overwhelmed, and burnt out. How do they look? Their shoulders are slumped, their head is down, their body looks heavy. That posture doesn't just reflect their state, it reinforces it. The brain takes cues from the body, and a collapsed posture tells the nervous system, we are weak, losing, we are unsafe. Now imagine someone standing tall, shoulders back, breathing deeply. That posture communicates confidence, is strength and safety. The fascinating thing is you don't need to feel confident to stand that way. Standing that way will help you feel confident. Your body and your mind are in constant dialogue, and by choosing the way you breathe and carry yourself, you are choosing the message you send to your brain. In moments when stress feels overwhelming, you don't need to wait for external conditions to change. You can use your breath and your body as the reset button. Take a slow inhale through your nose, hold for a few seconds, and exhale longer than you inhaled. Do that for 2 or 3 minutes, and you will feel the shift. Combine it with a powerful stance, feet planted, chest open, shoulders relaxed, and notice how quickly your state transforms. The external situation may be the same, but your internal chemistry is entirely different. Instead of cortisol flooding your system, your brain releases calming signals that allow you to think clearly, act decisively, and regain control. The beauty of this practice is that it doesn't require extra time or special equipment. You can do it in the middle of a meeting, in your car before walking into a stressful situation, or even standing in line at the grocery store. Every moment gives you the opportunity to choose how you breathe and how you hold your body, and every time you make that choice, you are training your nervous system to regulate itself more effectively. Over time, this becomes second nature. Stress still arises, but instead of spiraling into burnout, you reset quickly and return to balance. When you master the art of using breath and posture, you gain one of the most practical tools for controlling cortisol. You no longer have to wait for stress to disappear on its own. You can actively shift your biology in real time. This is how you reclaim power in the moments that matter most. Because burnout does not come from the presence of stress alone. It comes from being trapped in stress with no escape. Your breath and your body posture are the escape routes, always available, always under your control. And the more you use them, the more resilient you become, until stress no longer has the power to dictate your state of being. One of the most overlooked but absolutely essential factors in controlling cortisol and overcoming burnout is the way you sleep and the rhythms you live by. You can do everything else right. You can meditate, exercise, eat well. But if your sleep is fragmented, irregular, or constantly disrupted, cortisol will remain elevated and your body will never fully recover. Sleep is not just about rest. It is the master regulator of your nervous system and hormones. When you sleep deeply and consistently, your brain resets cortisol patterns, restores your immune system, and clears away the mental clutter that builds up throughout the day. When you neglect sleep, you rob your body of its ability to reset, and day by day, the stress load accumulates until burnout becomes inevitable. Consider the way the body is designed. Cortisol has a natural rhythm. It rises in the morning, helping you wake up with energy and alertness. It gradually declines through day, allowing you to focus when needed, but also preparing you for calm in the evening. By nighttime, cortisol should be low so that melatonin can rise, allowing deep sleep to unfold. But when your sleep schedule is erratic, when you stay up late staring at bright screens, When you wake up at different times every day, this natural rhythm gets disrupted. Cortisol remains high at night, making it hard to fall asleep or stay asleep. And then it doesn't rise properly in the morning, leaving you groggy and unfocused. That mismatch between biology and lifestyle creates a vicious cycle. Poor sleep increases cortisol. High cortisol ruins sleep, and the cycle repeats until exhaustion feels permanent. The good news is that you have the power to realign these rhythms. My name is. One of the most effective ways is by anchoring your sleep to consistent times. Going to bed and waking up at roughly the same time each day trains your body to regulate cortisol and melatonin in a stable pattern. Another powerful tool is light. Your brain's clock is directly influenced by light exposure, especially morning sunlight. Just 10 to 15 minutes of natural light within the first hour of waking can set your circadian rhythm for the entire day. Helping cortisol peak when it should and decline when it should. At night, the opposite holds true. Reducing exposure to bright artificial light signals the brain that it is safe to produce melatonin and prepare for recovery. In a world filled with glowing screens and constant stimulation, this discipline of managing light becomes one of the simplest but most profound ways to reset your hormonal balance. Sleep quality is just as important as sleep quantity. Deep sleep is when your brain performs what could be called a nightly detox, clearing out waste products, consolidating memory, and restoring your ability to think clearly. It's also when your body repairs tissues and strengthens the immune system. Without enough deep sleep, your body remains inflamed, your focus dulls, and your resilience plummets. And here's the truth: no amount of caffeine, supplements, or willpower can replace what only sleep can do. You can push through for a while, but the bill always comes due, and it is paid in burnout. This is why aligning your sleep and daily rhythms is non-negotiable if you want to control cortisol. It is not a luxury, it is a biological necessity. Start small if you need to. Choose 1 or 2 habits to shift. Perhaps it's committing to wake up at the same time each day, or stepping outside to catch the morning sun, or turning off screens an hour before bed. Each of these small adjustments has a compounding effect, gradually teaching your nervous system to return to balance. Over weeks and months, the difference is profound. You will notice energy returning, mood stabilizing, and focus sharpening, not because the world outside became less stressful, but because your biology was restored to its natural rhythms. When you honor your body's design, burnout begins to lose its grip. You are no longer dragging yourself through the day half alive. You are waking with clarity, functioning with energy, and sleeping with peace. This is the power of rhythm. When you live in alignment with it, cortisol works for you instead of against you. And when cortisol is balanced, your body and mind are free to operate at their highest potential. Movement is one of the most powerful regulators of cortisol, yet it is often misunderstood. Many people think of exercise as just a way to burn calories or build strength, but at its core, movement is a conversation with your nervous system. The way you move, how much you move, and when you move all send signals to your brain about whether you are under threat or in balance. Done properly, exercise helps you release excess cortisol, create energy, and build resilience. Done improperly, it can add more stress to an already overloaded system and push you closer to burnout. The key lies in learning how to use movement intelligently, not just aggressively. When you are under stress, your body is flooded with energy in preparation for action. Cortisol and adrenaline rise to help you move, fight, or flee. The problem today is that most people experience these chemical surges while sitting still, behind a desk, in traffic, staring at a screen. The energy is mobilized but never used, and the body remains tense. Over time, this mismatch creates chronic stress. Movement is the natural release valve. Even something as simple as a brisk walk signals to your brain that the stress has been resolved. Cortisol begins to drop. The nervous system shifts toward recovery, and you feel lighter both physically and mentally. The mistake many people make is thinking that more exercise is always better. They pile on intense workouts day after day, thinking it will reduce stress, when in reality it can elevate cortisol even higher if the body never gets adequate recovery. High-intensity training has its place. It can sharpen focus, build strength, and train resilience. but it must be balanced with restoration. If your system is already overwhelmed, the smartest choice may not be another hour of hard training, but rather a gentler form of movement like yoga, stretching, or walking in nature. These forms of movement calm the nervous system, lower cortisol, and replenish energy instead of depleting it. Another critical factor is timing. Your body's cortisol naturally peaks in the morning, which makes it an ideal time for vigorous activity. Morning exercise aligns with your biology, is giving you energy and focus for the day ahead. In the evening, when cortisol should be declining, intense workouts can sometimes interfere with sleep and recovery. Choosing lighter forms of movement later in the day supports the natural rhythm of your hormones. By aligning your activity with your biology, you allow cortisol to follow its intended pattern instead of fighting against it. What matters most, though, is consistency. Movement is not just about the one workout you do, it is about the lifestyle you build. Small, daily actions compound. A 20-minute walk, a quick stretch, a bike ride, or some bodyweight exercises sprinkled throughout the week can profoundly shift your cortisol balance over time. You do not need hours in the gym to transform your state. You need regular reminders to your nervous system that it is safe, capable, and resilient. Every time you move, you are sending a message of safety and resolution to your body. There is also something deeper that happens with movement. It reconnects you to your body. Burnout often feels like disconnection. You are living in your head, consumed by thoughts, worries, and demands. Movement grounds you. It pulls you back into the present moment, out of mental loops, and into physical awareness. Whether it is lifting, running, or simply stretching, you are reminded that your body is not just a machine to push, but a partner in your growth. That awareness alone begins to shift your relationship with stress. So when we talk about controlling cortisol and overcoming burnout, movement is not optional, it is essential. But it must be intelligent movement. It is not about punishing your body, but about partnering with it. It is not about exhausting yourself, but about aligning with your biology. When you learn to balance intensity with recovery, effort with rest, motion with stillness, you transform exercise into one of the most reliable tools for stress regulation. And as you practice this balance, you will find that your energy no longer swings between extremes of burnout and overstimulation. Instead, you move steadily through life with resilience, strength, and clarity. That is the gift of intelligent movement. It teaches your body how to complete the stress cycle, lower cortisol, and restore the balance that makes true success and fulfillment possible. One of the most powerful antidotes to burnout is not found in a supplement, a routine, or even a relaxation technique. It is found in vision and purpose. When you know why you are doing what you are doing, when you carry within you a compelling vision of the future, stress no longer feels like a crushing weight. It becomes fuel. Cortisol, in this case, doesn't trap you in fear, it prepares you for action. Purpose reframes stress. It gives meaning to effort, and it transforms pressure into progress. Without vision, every demand feels like a burden. With vision, every challenge feels like a stepping stone. Burnout is not simply the result of working too hard. Many people work long hours and face incredible demands without collapsing into exhaustion. Burnout comes when effort feels meaningless, when the brain cannot connect today's struggle with tomorrow's reward. In that state, cortisol becomes toxic because the mind interprets stress as endless and futile. But the moment you anchor yourself to a larger purpose, the brain receives a different message. It says, this effort matters. This struggle is shaping me. This stress is temporary. The reward is lasting. That shift alone changes the way your body processes stress hormones. The same external situation, but a completely different internal chemistry. Think of the times in your life when you've been so absorbed in something meaningful that hours passed without notice. You may have worked harder than ever, but you didn't feel depleted. You felt alive. That is the power of purpose. It organizes your energy, it channels your focus, and it gives you resilience far beyond what you thought possible. Your biology responds to it. Studies have shown that people with a strong sense of purpose have lower baseline cortisol, faster recovery from stress, and even longer lifespans. This isn't abstract. It is hardwired into your physiology. The brain thrives when it has a why. So how do you build this shield of purpose in your own life? Start by asking yourself deeper questions. What do you value most? What kind of person do you want to become? What kind of impact do you want to leave behind? These are not questions that can be answered casually, they require reflection. But once you begin to clarify them, everything shifts. The tasks that once felt meaningless become infused with significance. The obstacles that once discouraged you become part of your training. Even setbacks become easier to endure because you are not living for comfort. You are living for growth, contribution, and a future that excites you. Purpose also acts as a filter. When you know your vision, you stop scattering your energy across endless distractions. You say no more often. You conserve your energy for the things that truly matter. This reduces unnecessary stress and allows you to focus your effort where it has the greatest return. Without a clear purpose, you are pulled in every direction, saying yes to everything, and eventually burning out. With purpose, you live intentionally, directing your energy like a laser instead of scattering it like a flashlight. That alignment alone reduces cortisol because your nervous system senses coherence and direction. There is another dimension here: vision creates hope. Burnout thrives on hopelessness, the sense that nothing will change, that tomorrow will only bring more of the same. But when you hold a vivid picture of the future you are creating, your brain interprets stress as temporary. It sees the pain of today as the price of tomorrow's freedom, and that perspective is what keeps you going. Hope is not a luxury, it is biology. It reshapes your hormones, restores your energy, and protects you from the despair that drives burnout. So if you truly want to control cortisol and overcome burnout, do not just look for quick fixes. Look deeper. Ask yourself why you are here, what you want to create, and who you want to become. Then let that vision guide your choices, your actions, and even the way you interpret stress. Because the moment you attach meaning to your struggle, the struggle loses its power to break you. Stress becomes a signal that you are moving, growing, expanding, and when your mind believes in the purpose behind your effort, your body will align with strength, resilience, and balance. That is the shield of vision and purpose. And once you put it on, burnout can no longer define your life.